You are sitting at the kitchen table with a blank calendar and a very noisy mind. There have been 3 medication changes in 6 months. Your doctor is starting to hint that you should consider possible placement. You look at all the empty squares on the calendar and they blur together and you close it. Because how do you plan a year ahead when you cannot predict what's going to happen? And what do you do with January when dementia makes even Tuesday uncertain? Hey, Christian Care Companion. Welcome back to Dementia Caregivers Support for Christians, the last episode of 2025. I am really glad you're here. On this podcast, we help Bible-believing Christians look at 4 caregiving problems through a biblical lens. The hard burdens, the hard conversations, the hard decisions, and the hard emotions of caregiving. And in the end of a year and at the beginning of a new year, there is pressure to decide everything and to do things differently. We are going to help you notice what is real today, your limits, your needs, and your next faithful step, without pretending that we can control tomorrow. Today's episode is going to focus on hard decisions that feel urgent at the end of a year and the start of a new one, even when dementia keeps your days unpredictable. And this matters because we are carrying some weight. Care choices, money, living arrangements, our own health. And when dementia comes into the picture, planning can quietly turn into pressure or sometimes denial. So instead, we'll look at how faithful decision-making begins with telling the truth about limits, taking small, repeatable steps of obedience today rather than trying to manage the outcomes down the road. And if you need a quiet place to think through your burdens, your conversations, your decisions, and your emotions with others who truly understand dementia from a Christian worldview, I invite you to consider the Dignacare Foundation's membership. This is the last 2 days for the lifetime access at $97. Next year, starting January the 1st, enrollment is going to be $97 a year. Still not a big difference, but still, if you want lifetime access, join, because in a couple of days with Friday's episode, the lifetime access goes away. If this fits you in this season of your entrusted responsibility, you can find the registration link in the show notes or go to thinkdifferentdementia.com/join. Take your time, pray, discern about this. Like I said, it's still going to be available next year. There's no pressure to join right now. The lifetime deal goes away at the end of this month. So, what we are going to look at today is how Christian caregivers can release fear about their year ahead as a dementia caregiver with wisdom for what we cannot control. That's today's episode. And I want you to remember that this is one of the hardest seasons in your life when you are a family caregiver of somebody living with brain changes. The Lord has never promised us ease on the side of eternity, and it is definitely something that we have to look at. Everybody is talking about the new year, right? It's New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions, planning for the new year. And you and I are just trying to get through today. Taking care of a human living with dementia. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what they're going to be able to do in 3 months, never mind at the end of next year. You feel the weight of all of the care decisions that you have. Maybe the financial implications of dementia, maybe where the person needs to be living in 6 months. Maybe you're concerned about your own health. And I want us to look at today's episode through the lens of Psalm 90, verse 12 says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may present to you a heart of wisdom," right? Psalm 90 doesn't tell you to control the year ahead. It asks God to teach us to number our days so that we may have wisdom, a heart of wisdom. So what does that actually look like for us as Christian caregivers in our dementia caregiving season? So we're going to look at it today through stewarding today, not controlling tomorrow. We're going to look at it through wisdom starts with facing reality. We're going to look at it through small, faithful steps are better than big New Year's resolutions. And we're also going to look at it through our loved one's identity and future are already secure. Those are the things that we're going to look at today. So the first thing, we are called to steward today, not to control tomorrow. We are here to do the best we can and to glorify God through our caregiving journey, being faithful in the small places and spaces of caregiving. We are not here to control the outcome of dementia. We are not here to control what happens tomorrow. We can plan. Lord does tell us to plan. God calls us to steward today with the wisdom and the limits that He's given us today. He doesn't give us everything at the same time. He gives us just exactly what it is that we need. So I want you to picture that you're sitting at the kitchen table and you have a brand new calendar for yourself when you're helping somebody living with dementia, that sometimes there are multiple medication changes. The doctors are giving you information, and every single time you go to the doctor, you're trying to get caught back up from all of the things that have changed since the last time you were at the doctor. We feel the pressure because I see you, I know you, I hear you, I talk to you every single day. The people who are listening to this podcast, we are planners. We want to know that we have done what we could to honor God and serve our loved one. And that brings us a lot of pressure sometimes to feel like we have to decide everything today. And so we try to plan, well, if this happens, we'll do this, et cetera, et cetera. And those are good and right things. There are certain decisions that we need to have thought through. You need to think through what happens if somebody codes. You need to think through what happens if they stop eating. I'm not saying that we don't have to have these conversations. And what I am saying is that we do not know what tomorrow will bring. Psalm 90, verse 12 says, "Teach us to number our days, so that we may present to you a heart of wisdom." And then Matthew 6, verse 11 says, "Give us this day our daily bread." And then James 4, verse 15 says to us, you should say, "If the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that." And so what happens frequently is we are trying to be wise. We are trying to plan ahead, wisdom for next year. And at the same time, we have to trust that we will receive every single day what God has entrusted to us to navigate and to manage through His sovereignty. Tomorrow only belongs to the Lord. And the decisions that we have are what He puts in our hands today. And when you come to Him today with a posture of looking to what it is that He wills, not my will, not your will, what the Lord wills, the decisions become clearer. Our role isn't to fix this. Our role is to carry it faithfully, today and tomorrow and the next day. The second thing that we're going to look at is wisdom starts when we actually face reality. Becomes wisdom when we tell the truth about our limits, your loved one's needs, our resources, your exhaustion, your frustration, your difficulty with seeing the goodness of God in this process before God. We are to lay these burdens truthfully. The Lord already knows that you're frustrated. He knows you're tired. He knows you're exhausted. He knows that you don't have every financial resource that you may need. He knows exactly what your loved one needs. He knows your limits. But we don't always go to Him with that. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week talking about lament. It is okay to lament back to the Lord our frustration, our limitations, our fears. And those are good and right things to do because He already knows this. What I would love for you to consider is facing the reality that you're facing here and now. So I'm going to give you two scenarios. We have a husband and a wife living together. The husband is very overwhelmed by the full house, by the late nights, and she is trying to keep every tradition the same. The spouse ends the week exhausted, resentful, and discouraged as she is trying to keep everything normal. The second caregiver is looking honestly at how their person is doing this year. She is talking to the doctor. She has simplified things. She is asking for help. She is building in rest. It is still hard, but her decisions are coming from reality and not from denial. And so it makes it easier. I want you to think about Ephesians 4, verse 25. Therefore, laying aside all falsehood, speak truth, each of you, with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. And then John 8, verse 32 says, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. God already knows what it is that you are experiencing. God knows whether you're the first caregiver or the second caregiver, exactly what it is that you're facing. Sometimes it's just that we have not caught up to what God already knows. And if you are that first caregiver that is still trying to keep everything normal, I ask you to prayerfully consider in front of the Lord where you are, where your loved one is, and what the Lord is asking you to do next as He has given you this particular journey and responsibility to navigate. So just ask yourself that question. Just sit with it. Just reflect on it. And I know it can be super frustrating because sometimes you're the second caregiver and you're the only one that sees it. So sometimes there are frustrations with both of these, but God meets you in what is already true and not in our idea of what is ideal in the past or in the future. And when we meet the Lord by facing the actual realities in our life, we are meeting Him out of obedience. And obedience is what positions us to make clearer, more faithful decisions in the actual tasks and the responsibility that He has already given you in whatever place or station that you are in this caregiving journey. So the third thing we're going to look at is small and faithful steps is greater than making big resolutions. We do not need to have impressive New Year's resolutions. We just need to take wise, repeatable steps that honor God and give structure to our season. We don't need to change everything. We don't need to be following the world's resolutions. We just need to be faithful. Faithful with the next step every single day. Every year, what do you hear at the beginning of the year? You need to lose 20 pounds. You need to start going to the gym. I should overhaul my health. I need to organize the house. I've had people tell me that. Get everything perfectly mapped out. Instead, I want you to think about just taking the next faithful step, scheduling some respite for yourself once a month, asking somebody from church for specific practical help, like a ride or groceries or sitting with the person that you love so that you can take some time away. Over time, these small decisions give you some structure on how to carry what God has placed in front of you. I have other episodes where I talk about the 4 Ds: do, delay, delete, and delegate, right? That is what we can do. Small, faithful steps is way more important than taking big leaps and bounds right now. So he who is faithful in very little is faithful also in much. Luke 16, verse 10. God values our quiet faithfulness in all of these little places and spaces. God gives us wisdom for this new year through modest, doable steps that align with what he has asked you to carry right now. We do not need to make big dramatic promises to ourselves because then we feel like we haven't accomplished anything. Don't promise yourself that you're going to do these huge, big things right now, because if you cannot sustain it, you're training your brain to believe that you don't have the ability to do that. And we just want to take the next faithful step. Just take the next faithful step. Remember, your loved one's identity and future are already secure, just like yours. The reality is, this year is likely going to continue to bring decline, behavior changes, and loss if you are a family caregiver of loved one living with dementia, and your loved one's identity and future are already held by God. It is not because of their thinking processes or their cognitive ability. It is not because we are planning. It is because God created us in the image of him. And because of that, we have value and the future is already secure. And if you are loving somebody who is a person living with dementia, who is not a believer, I ask you to stick with me. That is going to be a future episode because I live your reality. My dad is a self-professed atheist, and so he does not have the hope of eternity. I hear you. I see you. It is a hard episode to prepare for, but it is coming. But if your loved one is a Christian, that is their reality. It is likely at some point or another, the person is going to forget you. It is likely that as they continue to change, things are going to get worse. It is possible that you are going to feel at times that you cannot do this. I know because so many people tell me they scroll articles and stories. I hate Facebook groups where everything is all doom and gloom and woe is me. And I want you to remember that those are not helpful for you at this time. Then I want you to remember God's promises. He carries you. No one can snatch you or them out of his hand. Jesus Christ never changes. He is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Last episode, we talked about even to your old age, I will be the same. Even to your graying years, I will bear you. And he gives us eternal life and that we will never perish. And so just remember that our personhood is not in our thinking processes. Our personhood is because God is eternal and unchanging, and He created us in His image. Our responsibility is to make wise and structured decisions in light of God's promises to you today. And His promises are the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we cannot guarantee outcomes that we can control. We are just here to do the next faithful step. Remember, this is a part of your sanctification and for you to be more like Christ. That's a hard thing. Let's sit with that for a second. That is a hard thing. So God is not asking us to control this year. He's asking you to steward today. Wisdom starts when we start to tell the truth about what is and what is not, and not necessarily just pretend that things are easier or pretend that it is not happening. We are required to take small, repeatable, faithful steps, and they are better than making big resolutions that we cannot keep. Our loved one, their identity and their future is already determined in God's hands, and dementia does not change that. We are not here to fix things. We are here to accept and carry the responsibility that He has already given us. So as you look at the year ahead, what might we be trying to control that belongs to the Lord instead of receiving it as a role for us to steward wisely today what He has given you to steward today? So I ask you to think through that. What is the Lord asking you to steward faithfully today? What care decisions has He put in front of you today? We know, all of us know, that the ultimate outcome, unless the Lord comes again, is that you and the person that you love, the person that you serve, will be passing away. We live in a sin-cursed world, and this world is passing away. Maranatha, Lord Jesus, come quickly. And takes us out of the sin and the curse of the world so that we can be more like Christ. And yet, I recognize that timing is not up to me. That timing is not up to you. And if the Lord doesn't come back, we are likely facing the death of a loved one at the end of this process. And for that, I pray for us all every single day. But this too is a part of our journey as believers. And so when you think about this year ahead, think about what the Lord is asking you to do. Pray with and for the person that you love, and pray with and for me and the people that I love and serve. And if these episodes resonate with you, share them with someone else. And remember that if you realize that you need a quiet and structured place to think through these burdens and decisions before the Lord, and not just to respond to them, I'd love for you to look at the DigniCare Foundations at thinkdifferentdementia.com/join. Until the end of this year, and this episode comes out on December the 30th, so through tomorrow, it is a one-time lifetime access of $97, and then it'll go up to $97 a year. I don't want you to rush just because it's the end of the year, but I do want you to consider whether it's a wise next step for you in this season that the Lord has called you to navigate, because this is not in your life as an accident. This is in your life because the Lord has decreed this. And so this community is a means to provide you with Christian support and not the world's view of dementia, because there is a radically different view between a biblical view of dementia and the world's view of dementia. So join the community if you feel led. email me at lizette@thinkdifferentdementia.com at any time, and I would love to talk to you. If you're ready for a next step, go to my calendar at thinkdifferentdementia.com/let's chat and hop on my calendar and let's see how or if it's appropriate for me and you to work together. And as I end all of my episodes, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and I will see you next year.